Thursday night, and you are tuned into Beltway Radio and Beyond, which can mean one and only thing. This is Chip Chat. Welcome to Chip Chat, everybody. I'm Chip. Who are you, Tez?
You just told him, buddy.
We were off for a week.
We were.
Or 2 weeks.
Was it 2 weeks?
Was it 2 weeks, Brian?
No.
I don't know how time works. Just one. It felt like a long time.
Yes.
As per usual, when we take off, nothing happened.
Nothing at all.
Nothing at all happened. Various things didn't happen. Snoop is white people's favorite Olympic fan, which is crazy.
Yeah. I mean, is there reports on this? What's the number he's getting? Or is this because he's on an NBC property already, right?
Yeah, he's doing the voice.
He does the voice. Okay.
This
must be
go around. This is
included in the.
Of course it is, but like, think about the terror that white America felt at the implication of like his first record. They were so afraid of.
All I'm gonna say is murder trial.
Yeah, right. Yes.
This man is beat
a murder charge for something he said in a song.
Yeah.
and you know, Tipper Gore was so worried.
And I think you look at others like who might straddle that realm. I think like an Ice Cube.
Yeah.
Right, but like nothing really sticks to Snoop.
No,
it doesn't.
Because everybody likes him. He's a very likable guy. Yeah. Like every time there's been any kind of conflict, whether it's in music or otherwise, people end up going, you know what? We forgive you. Because look at the guy. I mean, come on. Could you stay mad at Snoop?
No, I got love for Snoop.
He's so charming and funny and cool. Like, of course you want to, you know. So anyway, white people love him. Jamaicans are not winning on the track.
Hey, we've had a long run.
Which is shocking.
That's just been a long run.
Literally only good at one thing and not running, apparently.
No, that's
not a long run. It was a short run.
This year, this Olympic here, this Olympic. There's a young Bolt that's in waiting.
On his way.
Or is it she, I think.
Okay,
I think it's his daughter. I think it's his daughter, yes.
And then
I think her name is Olympia.
Olympia Bolt?
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
I think, yeah. So there's no option.
Yeah.
There's no option.
Better be fast.
There's no option.
She turns into a painter or
yeah,
something.
Like,
no, lady.
There's only one thing.
You only have one job.
And we're here for kids doing their own things, but sorry.
But no, not that
so,
kid.
Yeah.
Well, it's like Vladdy Jr. hit his first triple tonight, against the Orioles. But like, if Vladdy Jr. had wanted to be, I don't know, an accountant, that wasn't a choice.
Nope.
Your name is Vladdy Jr. You have one job. It's to be a baseball player.
Bronny James.
Yeah, I mean.
No option, sorry.
That's how it works.
I have her official birth certificate name.
Yes.
Olympia Lightning Bolt.
That's in the middle is the lightning. Yeah, of course, yes.
Okay, I mean.
Yeah, so he knows what he's doing.
He branded her before she
was born. That's crazy. Hey, anyway.
Does Nike have the sponsorship?
Obviously, it's already set. It's already set up. There's no options there.
Brilliant. Also, there was a French dude, Pierre, that lost him the pole vault. That's very funny. Great video. I highly encourage you to watch the Leslie Jones watching that video.
That's funny. I can only imagine. I've not seen that.
And of course, Leslie Jones is the other Olympic super fan that everybody loves to watch her watch the Olympics. It's really great. She's also very funny. So anyway, it's been exciting, but we don't have time for that. Because VP Harris has a VP pick and Bibi is going to need a country to flee to. That's a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Bangladesh has a PM opening currently.
It's true.
So he could just whoop. It's a lot of acronyms.
It's a lot of acronyms.
VP Harris and a VP pick and a BB and a PM. Yeah. Trump can't get JD Vance off the couch.
Oh.
And, a bunch of other stuff. He had a 3.5-hour press conference today.
Well, and he should have realized from his too long RNC speech that you got to dial these back to. But he can't help. He can't help it.
I listened to the whole bit before he started taking questions.
Okay.
And he goes. We're about to take and every time he was about to take questions, he would start his loop over again. So he kept looping.
January 6th, I tell you. Biggest crowd since MLK.
Yeah, so he got onto the crowd size and
he's playing it. He's afraid.
Well, I don't think it really honestly did sound like he was stuck. He would hit a particular phrase and that would restart the record and he would do it again and again and again.
He's been doing this too. He does it with bravado. No one cares.
Yeah. And to his people, those asides all add up to the point. But to listen to it happening in real life is very concerning. It does sound like either somebody who isn't all there or somebody who is aging to the point of we need to put you in a home, Grandpa. He's not. It wasn't great. But I do encourage you to go look at the highlights from it. It's been pretty funny. So anyway, we got a lot of stuff.
It's a lot of stuff tonight.
It's a lot of stuff. That's not even the things we're going to actually talk about.
Right.
Those are just the things we can't talk about because we don't have time.
Exactly. There's no time.
It's no time. Ain't nobody got time for that. So, do you have a word?
Yeah, I had 2 words I was thinking of coming. I'm trying to think what the second word is so I can pick through them.
You can pick through. Also, while you're doing that, happy 14th birthday to the 420 guys. Oh. They had their 14th anniversary show this week. They've been on the air longer than I have, which is hard to believe. And so it's great. And it was a very funny show. Go back, look at it on YouTube or Facebook or wherever. And hilarious.
Like us watching ourselves on the delay.
On the delay.
That's very it.
I'm a little worried about that. I might get confused.
I'm not looking up at that.
Really me.
Not looking up at that at all. That definitely could confuse me there as well.
You have to figure out what country it's in.
Jesus Christ. Yes, I have a word.
Okay, you've got a word?
Yep.
I had a word. Oh, I forgot it. Oh, yeah, I got it. Okay. So sit back, grab some
press.
It's pole vault time. You're listening to the best show, the only show, Chip Chat on Beltway Radio and beyond.
Sweeps.
Chip Chat here on Beltway Radio and beyond. I'm your host, Chip. With me is Tez.
What's poppin', yeah?
All right, so this is a new segment for us. It's a recent segment.
Recent segment.
For a long time, we presented this show and this network as English, British, and South Asian, Indian show. Or as a, Spanish show.
Yeah.
But recently, because it serves our purposes, we have discovered this is a black radio station.
Yes, black radio station.
It's very recent. We'd only just decided this. We've never been a black radio station before. We are now a black radio station.
With a lot of black jobs.
With black jobs. I'm the only not black job on the station.
Yeah.
Well, plus Brian.
Yeah. I was going to say, you went for the job.
So... that is all to say that okay. So while we were gone, a thing that we would have very much liked to talk about is this crazy thing that happened where Trump went and spoke to the National Association of Black Journalists at their annual conference, where our friend and guest in a couple of weeks, J. Scott Smith, was in attendance.
And said we should apply for that.
He told us we should apply to join this organization.
Hey, we missed it. We missed the one. It was the one in Vegas. That was the one.
Well, I don't know. This one might have been pretty fun.
Yeah.
We will apply, Jay. We will. He's going to be on our show not next week, or on the 22nd. He'll be on the show. Just to plug why he's going to be on the show is because the Chip Chat Bump has now resulted in 2 Emmy nominations. So our guy is doing big things.
Yeah.
And, bringing us along with him. Which
all because of you.
It's all because of me. Yes, I'm going to get a black Emmy. So, so anyway, he did this thing, and it was supposed to be an hour-long interview.
Yes.
But he came out late, and there was a lot of, hubbub about why was he late, to starting this interview. And during the interview, he told everybody in attendance that the reason he was late is because the technical stuff didn't work and that the black journalists were lazy and late and bad at keeping their promises and all of the things. And then Axios got the scoop.
Yes.
Moments before former President Trump took the stage at the National Association of Black Journalists annual convention in Chicago on Wednesday, the organization's president was called back to address an issue. Trump did not want to be fact-checked live on the stage.
Yep.
So he wouldn't come out on stage because he was like, yo, I don't want you to fact-check me.
Correct.
And they're like, we're journalists.
Which is just an insane premise altogether. That the former president of the United States doesn't want to be fact-checked, that you had a journalist conference.
And then he lied about why he didn't want to be fact-checked.
Yeah.
In real time. And they fact-checked him in real time. He came out there. The very first question was like, you've said all this awful stuff. Why do you think anybody, should support you?
Just a nasty question.
He goes, that's a nasty question.
I knew that was, once I asked, we know what he's going, we know his response to these.
Yeah, it was kind of funny. It is funny, but there's something more going on here. Here's the bit of reporting from Axios. It says the Q&A with the GOP presidential nominee was delayed more than an hour before he eventually joined a panel of black journalists, including ABC News correspondent Rachel Scott, Fox News anchor Harris Faulkner, and Semaphore reporter Kadia Goba. At the time, Trump blamed the delay on audio problems.
Later, AV man takes the hit on this.
Yeah.
Man. Come on.
Later, he said that there were audio problems, but they were resolved very quickly. The bigger problem was his threat not to take the stage when he had agreed to go on. He did not want to be fact-checked, but we could not let him on the stage without fact-checking him. The statement was so prolonged.
This is the part, yeah.
That the NABJ leaders were prepared to go on stage and explain why he wasn't coming out.
Right.
They had written.
There's a statement was written, yeah,
that said, I was prepared to go on stage to craft a statement saying that he decided not to go on because he didn't want to be fact-checked. So here's the thing that I couldn't really make heads or tails of. And, as I was watching this and seeing the pieces of it, I don't understand why he agreed to do this.
Oh, God.
Oh, I do know.
Okay, Brian was there. Brian knows. Like all white people, Brian knows more about Trump.
Yes. Let's be fully honest. He took full advantage of all this. Keep in mind there was other reasons for the delays. One, he mentioned the fact that Kamala Harris was supposed to be also be part of the interview process.
She did it by Zoom.
Now here's the thing. This is where a lot of you're kind of missing some things here, and maybe it was never mentioned. But really, pretty much, this is mostly the NABJ's fault. One, Kamala Harris' team requested to do either virtual or phone call, whatever. They wanted to do this. She was campaigning.
She just became the nominee.
Right.
She's got
which seems reasonable.
But
seems reasonable.
But the committee there refused it.
Okay.
No one understood why. So for Trump to come out and saying it's like, well, I thought she was supposed to be here. He wasn't fully aware of that situation. So for him, it's like he's in a safe. He felt like more of a safe place to be in. One, he had Harris Faulkner with him on the stage, asking him, snowball questions.
Call her a journalist.
Yeah, and things of that nature. So it made things easier for him to do whatever the hell he wanted, because that's what he does. And I felt like, and that's why I don't know if you're going to mention later, but I will mention it now. The committee chair resigned after all this because.
I don't think that the issue really has to do with whether it was virtual or whether it was in
person.
No,
the whole thing here is the fact that even though they pretty much felt like this, again, they do this every time around this election year. They wanted to bring in the candidates to talk to the journalists and things of that nature. But knowing full well the history with this person and how in the history what this person does,
he's going to come out and lie all the time.
Not just lie, but just berate and be argumentative and also be really rude to a lot of black journalists, except for Harris, and just being a dick that he is. And I saw that whole half hour, and pretty much it was like luckily enough, it's like you take one of his 3 hours rallies or whatever, and he's talking for days. Cut it down to half an hour, and it's the same bullshit.
Yeah, it is. So you're saying that the chair had to resign because basically they shouldn't have platformed this in the first place.
Yeah.
Yeah, I that is part of the question. I have an idea why he did this, but I don't understand whether it would have been virtual or not. Like, why would he subject himself to this? There's no upside.
I mean, what's her name? First of all, it's piss poor planning on the campaign. There's no need. There was no need to go there. I think NABJ, like they're at blame in the sense that you're a journalist outfit and platform person. And even past a liar, a person who wants to murder journalists, right?
Yeah.
And like NABJ does offer this to every president. As I've heard of this, every presidential candidate gets offered this. So I don't think this is out of bounds in the sense of offering it. I think not allowing the Harris virtual component is weird because, like, again, she's just become the nominee. I found it very interesting, some of his language, the unique language about the black population. That was a very
what he's done for the blacks,
but even the black population in this country, the black population, and I'm like, but not to use people, I thought was very interesting. I thought it was interesting to hear the claps he got at certain things. I thought that was very interesting. But yeah,
what is a black job? The way he danced around that. But
the biggest story, obviously, is his comments about Kamala Harris and her like that's so that alone, and like to me this backfired for him. This was terrible for him.
So
they had Republicans coming out being like, I don't know why you're really doing that.
So that's what I'm kind of getting at here is that like he comes out and he says this totally insane thing.
Insane.
I didn't know she was black. She only just became a black. And then
played the notes of it too.
Then he a black.
And the way he kept saying it, then she turned black. It was crazy. That's just insane.
So let's put a pin in that. We'll get back to that in a second. My read on this was that Trump says to himself, okay, I'm going to go. This is hostile territory for him, right? These are journalists. That's hostile.
Yeah.
Okay. They're black journalists. That's double hostile.
Right.
And these are folks, they're at their convention. These are the heavy hitters. These are not, beat reporters, covering like the local rally. These are the top reporters in the country. They're gonna know. They come to like events like this with notes.
Yeah.
I don't think
they're professionals.
Yeah, but I also think I don't know that they would be fun to hang out with. Like these are nerds of another level. Like who know more shit than you could imagine and have it at quick recall and ready to go.
Yeah.
And so like why would he go and subject himself to this? And I think the reason is he figures he can outsmart him. And the reason he thinks he can outsmart him is because they're black. And he goes, oh, well, they're not real journalists. They're black journalists. And I can just go there and bamboozle them by yelling and lying and saying all this stuff, and they'll back down because, of course, they will. And then he did weird things like grab people's water bottles and tighten them up and stuff.
It's a weird guy.
And actually drunk it.
He's
a weird guy.
It was like not knowing the fact it's like yours is on the other side.
Right next to him. It was a weird thing to watch. And the cap of this all was this weird thing that he said, where he says that he didn't know that Kamala Harris was black. And to get back to that, I got to tell you, I know people personally who have, for years, referred to Kamala Harris as the N-word.
Oh, gotcha. As PPF.
Yeah, they go, oh, that N-word, senator, that N-word vice president, like they say this all the time.
Right.
But they're deep, deep Trumpistas. The day after he says this weird thing about, I thought she was Indian, these same people are saying, I thought she was Indian. When did she become black? And I was very tempted to say, I don't know, right around the time you were calling her the N-word.
Yeah, it can't be both. It can be both.
It is.
Well, it can be both, actually. That's the, but.
It could be,
but
just proving their ignorance.
But yes, to these, in their realm, it can't be both. If you felt that way.
Well, if that's the case, then J.D. Vance's wife is the N-word.
Exactly.
And, they can't have that. So it is a weird and very confusing thing to watch the cult operate as such in real time, where you can watch somebody saying one thing within very short period of time. I mean, these people I know had been saying these things about Vice President Harris even as recently as a couple months ago, the last time I heard it, and then they're like, I had no idea. And it's like, you can't really mean that. You can't. No, but they have to believe that.
Yeah,
Did you know that she's black?
Yeah, I think it was succinctly put. I forgot.
When did she become a black? I don't know. The time she pledged AKA at Howard. I mean, come on.
It was incendiary comments, man. But what's new from former President Trump? I think I heard it put, and this should just be a rallying cry in general, that I forgot, it was a reverend, I think, and someone showed it to me, and he was like, "What? Who is this white man talking about and to our women?"
Yeah.
And I think as black men, that could be a simple rallying cry. Like, what is when are we allowing this crazy white man to come up on stage at the Black Journal and spew this foolishness?
And say,
what?
A lot of
Get
people,
the fuck out of here.
Surprisingly enough, probably, Mr. Scott will say that as well, but I've heard a lot of other notable reporters who went there were asking the same thing. It's like, you can't, why is he here? Because he what? Mind you, the mindset they believe is like they did even 8 years ago. They felt like, okay, we'll treat him like a normal candidate, and he's not. You can't
do that.
Yeah, and the Press Correspondents Association, they can't have anything. You can't have a guy who, as you mentioned, wants to imprison or kill journalists come talk to a bunch of journalists. It's
and I maybe.
It's like inviting a shark to a minnow conference.
But
like,
maybe you're trying to prove the whole
we go high kind
free
of thing?
speech type of but I don't know. His speech shouldn't be almost considered that a lot of times because it's asking for violence.
It's incitement to violence.
Yeah, and that's not how I understand I know it's a tricky. It
is a tricky thing because you don't want to limit what people say.
Right.
You want to.
He's allowed to say it.
If these people, whether it's Trump or his supporters, are willing to go out and label themselves by saying all of this stuff and letting the rest of us know what they mean,
right?
Then hey, look, if you want to go tell everybody that you're a violent racist, I mean, you can go do that if you want.
To do that.
If you get fired as a result or somebody chucks a rock at you, hey, man, you kind of did that to yourself. That's a FAFO situation right there. Okay? So, like, I don't know. Trump represents a violent threat to journalism as a whole. I don't know that I would invite him to address a bunch of journalists. In the same way, I wouldn't invite an avowed Holocaust denier to come talk to a Jewish organization about why he should be allowed to say those things. We shouldn't engage with him. He's not safe for us.
Right.
Trump and his supporters represent an existential threat to a variety of people, whether those are various minorities, LGBT, women in general. There's a very small segment of this country where if Trump wins, they'll be fine.
Yeah.
But he and his people, and the people who support him, and the people who go to these rallies, and the people who wear the shirts, and the people who carry on like this, they do represent a dangerous threat to black folks, to Jewish folks, to women, to Arab folks, to Muslims. The list is long.
Yeah.
They're not talking about gently asking them to be less Muslim. They're talking about deporting people. They're talking about building camps. Yep. Okay? This is violence in speech. So to your point, maybe it isn't free speech. Well, maybe it's violent.
But this is where I highly commend Rachel Scott, because she tried, as much as difficult it was, tried to get some sensible information from him.
And to keep it on track.
And for him, you can tell that once he's off that rail, or Brett, he never was on it.
He's never on it.
He's gone. So I commend Ms. Scott for doing as best as he can, and especially the conditions she was dealing with, and especially right from the jump. Because knowing full well, like any journalist, every known journalist always has those difficult interviews, no matter who it is, even way before Trump.
Yeah. And
especially in a very large stage like that, handling it, it's amazing. And she deserves whatever award she get, for that.
And I think the White House Correspondents' Court, of which he's a member, like, if they want to put her on the stage for the next Nerd Prom, that totally makes sense. I mean, she did her best, but it's like inviting a tiger to address a bunch of chickens. Like, what are you doing here? This thing is hostile.
That's why, this is where I think the NABJ organizers really dropped the ball on this. Either put stricter rules. They should have either put more stricter rules on this situation.
How could you possibly?
I get that.
Yeah, he doesn't follow.
I know he doesn't follow, but you
can't invite him.
And then on top of the fact that, the number one thing they should have let Ms. Harris do the virtual thing. I don't know why they didn't do it, because again, modern day medium, you can do anything.
Yeah.
So I mean, I've been to a few NABJ's conventions. I mean, they're interesting, they're fun. You get to meet people, network and all that stuff. But when it comes to this type of meeting, when you deal with, seeing a panel discussions and stuff like that, and there's that one person that full well is, mind you, it would be interesting to go to see, but really it's like, you've heard it all before, and that's what he did. And as again, we all saw that 30 minutes, and luckily it was 30 because it was supposed
only
to be
30 minutes.
It was supposed to be an hour.
He was fussing about it. But yeah, thank God. I mean,
it would have been far worse, because all it is was just going around the loop over and over again, which I felt
he eventually got booed. I think because
he got booed.
They would have lost their cool. Every audience would lose their cool.
I think also too when did we as black folks start having these conversations that mostly are amongst ourselves, really, to be honest, with a white audience in the sense like that. And that's another piece there. There's nothing there that you could be able to get back from him. There's no response. There's not going to be any type of enlightenment in the discussion. There's 1,000 other people that might be more interesting to bring in to still have maybe the conversation around, even if you're trying to talk about whatever he represents or maybe we're trying to figure out what the polling numbers say about like his rise and or having more support in the black community. If you want to have that conversation, there's other individuals.
Tried. That was the thing. They tried.
You can't have it with him.
I know that's what I'm saying.
That's the thing. He doesn't know.
But the thing is, but the thing is, it's like if you go after a person who's part of his quote unquote camp, they'll give you some whatever pseudo number. And again, if they allowed the proper fact checking, they would have literally said it was like, okay, is that really accurate? Because based off of what the information we have, it's not that true.
Well, you're saying that maybe they could have had some sort of social scientist or pollster or somebody
else
who's like studying the phenomenon rather than part of the phenomenon.
And keeping that more, because then that would have been even just more, like this felt very like, for clickbait in the sense.
Yeah, but it was all truth to be told, everybody knew the moment he walked in there and confronted Miss Scott after that first question, you know full well all that was a whole bunch of Fox News, audio, video clips for them to post out there for the next 20 hours. Yeah. And that was some bullshit.
But it also worked the other way because we all got to see him say the weird thing about Kamala Harris.
It was really bad for him.
Yeah, it was.
I think this worked.
And I don't think it changes that much.
Well, and the other reason I think he was willing to do it, and the reason he did this press conference today, is he's losing the news cycle. Yeah. For the first time in the campaign, for the first time in all of the campaigns, and since he's been on the national stage in this regard, he's been able to drive the news. This is now where Vice President Harris is announcement after announcement after announcement is driving the story.
He can't be a change candidate.
He can't.
He's
but
already
he also
been
can't
the
crack
president.
the top half of the fold of the newspaper.
And because it's. I think it's similar. Like we all watch like Premier League football. When someone scores a little too early.
Yeah.
And maybe his media buzz scored a little too early, and we're now into the final 15 minutes.
Right.
Of this match.
And Harris has the advantage. Harris has the ball. Harris
has 1-1 and like
actually I'll say this.
There's many shots on goal.
True. I'll say this aspect. I viewed it as a lot of people are just tired of him.
Yes.
And the thing is with everything is like he's going after whatever rally he's at, no matter if it's the same BS or something new and all that stuff. And again, Fox News or any other news outlet will put him on for as long as they want to, and realizing the fact is like he's really not saying anything. It becomes tired. It's just looping. Mind you, I saw both Kamala Harris's initial announcement where it was Wisconsin, and then the next day she was in Atlanta. So, mind you, she gave the similar speech.
Yeah, it's a stump speech.
Same speech. And, with some additives here and there based off the news cycle. I think when you guys mentioned later where she introduces Mr. Walz, it'll be a little different. But again, the thing is like, yeah, she's going into different places and trying to, again, preaching hope. She's the new hope.
Yeah,
freedom.
Yeah, freedom.
Yeah. Mind your own damn business.
So, and again, she's not tiresome.
That's a great line.
And that's the key thing. She's not tiresome. And because, mind you, yeah, she's like the new shiny toy, but at the same time, she's like, this is kind of what we kind of wanted. We want a breath of fresh air.
That's all well and good. I think, to your point that people are a little bit tired of Trump, like here he has always been able to drive this news cycle by being outrageous and saying something offensive and then more offensive. He may have actually eclipsed himself here, which is careful because he stares at those. So like, if every time the cameras aren't on him, his way to get them back on is to be outrageous or insulting or do something crazy.
Yeah, plays the hits.
But now if he goes out and calls somebody the N-word, that's a blip. Like it's so expected at this point. He can't come up with anything more outrageous. I'm going to put everybody in camps, he's going to say. And we're like, well, you've been saying that for months now. I'm going to deport 11 million people. You've been saying that for months. I'm going to kill. So you've been saying, you just keep. He may have run out of wacko shit to say. He can't think of anything new. He can't offend anybody else at this point. Jesus, there's nobody left. And if he comes out and attacks...
Jesus is
there's
left.
still Jesus.
They think he is, you know, like, I mean, he goes out and tells everybody that he's he tells everybody that he's better than Lincoln, you know, and then everybody goes, yeah, we've heard you say that before, though. He has run out of stuff.
Yeah, and again, maybe
that's why he did this.
Maybe I'm overly optimistic, but if this continues on this path, this could be the exact opposite. This could be a landslide victory.
I see the Republican enthusiasm declining.
Yeah, and people are riled up.
Because they don't give him anything. Every time he goes out, he says the same thing.
Yeah.
I'm being persecuted. I'm here because...
He just blasted mail-in voting.
Yeah.
Like, everything is lining up for it to be very bad for that.
Yeah, but let's not hope about...
I'm just saying. But here's my thing as well, too. Isn't that our problem, though? We always are, we're afraid. Fuck that. Let's run this shit up.
No, you're right.
In 100
let's run up the score. Let's do it.
Let's run go full on. And it feels like this campaign is moving that way. Like, y'all have tried that before. We're not doing that again. We're not going back to that.
We're going to talk about that in the next segment. We do want to have one more. There is one more story in the Black News segment.
Yeah.
Which features former Kentucky Governor Matt Bevin, who... this one is again.
This is what's going on here.
This is a little like playing the hits again too. Like okay. I don't think it's going to shock anybody, but a white Republican politician who had a black son dropped him. You know, he adopted this kid, and then he shipped him off to one of these reform schools or something. This one happens to be in Jamaica. And then he just didn't pick him up. Just left him there.
That's crazy.
He just left him.
That's crazy.
And, you know, kids calling home, Mom, Dad, come pick me up. And they're like, who are you calling Mom and Dad?
I'm not really your mom.
I'm not your real dad. You're not politically valuable to me anymore. I'm just going to leave you behind.
Crazy.
When the reporters asked the kid about this, his name is Noah, by the way.
Of course.
He told the London Times that he wasn't surprised. When asked why he thought Bevin had adopted him, he muttered public image.
The kid is saying that.
Yeah.
Because he knows.
Because he knows. That, you know.
Are there not laws against this type of shit in Kentucky?
Well, it doesn't matter because he's in Jamaica.
But I'm saying, he's no longer the parent.
Noah, who is now 17, was sent to a facility in Florida after his father lost the governorship and then transferred to the
actual governorship, not governorship as like guardian, right?
Yes, right.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
After he was ousted by Andy Beshear and is no longer the governor of Kentucky. Yes. He was then transferred to the Atlantis Leadership Academy on Treasure Beach in Jamaica, according to the London Times. Atlantis Leadership Academy has been at the center of an investigation for allegations of abuse and neglect of the children in their care and was shut down in February. In April, 5 employees of the school were charged with child cruelty and assault. Allegations against the boarding school included children being beaten by staff, placed in stress positions for hours at a time, and being forced to work until they vomit. Work out until they vomit. Sorry. I know a little more about these things than I probably should, which we could talk about some other time, but you know, these schools have bad bad reputation. But here again, you've got this. Clarence Thomas did this. You know, Matt Gaetz had a Puerto Rican or Cuban son for a little while.
For a little while.
Like this is I don't understand what's happening here. Like why this keeps happening.
I mean, maybe it could play into.
You can't call me a racist because I have a black son?
Maybe some of that, maybe some of the evangelical, like, hey, we're here to, like, I feel like
white
that saviors
stuff?
type stuff. Maybe also, too, like, their whole platform around being pro-life and, like, oh, we're adopting kids.
But then they give up the kids. They give them up.
You know why? Because it costs a lot to have kids.
Yeah, and it's not politically expedient
And maybe you should support some of these laws that make it more advantageous for people to have kids and raise them.
Has anybody asked
society.
Where they got Noah from?
I thought he was from Ethiopia.
Ethiopia, right?
No, he has some other kids.
Those
that
are
they
other
got
kids
from
from
Ethiopia.
Other kids. Oh, okay.
Yeah, have 5 biological children and adopted 4 more from Ethiopia. But once Bevin was ousted, one of his 4. Oh no, that's right. He is one of the Ethiopian kids. Okay, he cast him out to Jamaica. What? And Jamaica's like, I guess we're gonna keep him now. Like
how does that work? That's what I'm saying.
He's a ward of the state. Is how that's happened. So now they've got this 17-year-old kid that they got to take care of. I mean, I'm not saying
shit that they're complaining about. Now we're sending people to other countries. All right, taking their resources. They're just showing up there, crazy.
He's an illegal immigrant.
Took him from one country.
And took him to, and the Trump people keep saying, I don't know why he keeps saying this, that countries are emptying their insane asylums and sending them to America, which is very much not true. And here is Matt Bevin.
There's no migrant crime crisis.
There's that's not
real
even a
thing.
crime crisis at all.
Yeah, exactly.
But there's never been a migrant crime crisis. Migrants don't commit crimes. They're all trying to stay out of trouble.
Exactly.
Jesus. But I would bet dollars to donuts that amongst the Bevin folks and everybody else, they're like, oh, yeah, well, we sent him back to be with his people, Jamaica. And the dude's from Ethiopia.
No, it doesn't kind of work like that. I know the whole Rastafari.
I know
they're probably like, yeah.
They look the same. What are you talking about? They don't look the same. But, like...
This is terrible.
Yes,
this is bad.
We're making fun of this, but
this is
a thing that keeps happening. It keeps happening. And random black son, Mike Johnson had a random black son, his accountability buddy. Why is this happening? I never heard about this happening on the left. I never hear about this similar story.
No, it's no, who's the one? Who is it? Doesn't Angelina Jolie do this? But she's not giving them back.
No, she and Brad are actually currently in a custody battle. Each one wants to keep the children.
Yeah, I think that's the difference.
Because they love them.
That's the difference.
Because that's how parenting and adoption is supposed to work. You don't just borrow a kid for a while to win a campaign and then send them off to another country.
It's so sick, man.
What a fucking weirdo.
Weird. Just weird.
Yo, Kentucky, come on.
Weird. That's really weird.
That's just the word that keeps coming up.
It is that.
All right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a break while we recombobulate ourselves.
Crazy.
We're going to come back and talk a little bit more about the campaign, which continues to get crazier and crazier, and then we'll see what else comes up. It's going to be a wild ride. You're going to have fun, promise.
Be there.
Yeah, be there. It's going to be wild.
Yeah.
Keep saying it. It's going to come true.
It is going to, no.
Alex Jones published a maximum alert on Twitter. I didn't know that there was higher than his regular maximum alert.
You have to pay for that?
No.
Is it the premium subscription?
But, yeah, that's funny.
I didn't get that.
And because he says that there's going to be a civil war soon. Which, he says this kind of every other day, so I don't know how it was a maximum.
Remember, friends, my friends. Right now, you do not control the army.
That's true.
The last time you did, and then you squandered your opportunity.
Don't say that.
It's crazy.
No.
It's crazy.
You never had the opportunity. Don't do that.
Such idiots.
Stop this.
They squandered it all.
What are you, Maduro?
No. Go to break.
We're going to take a break. Teach Tez about elections. We'll be right back. You're listening to Chip Chat on Beltway Radio and beyond.
Sweeps.
Telling me
Chip Chat here on Beltway Radio and Beyond. I'm your host, Chip. With me is Tez.
What's popping out?
All right, so now we've come to a part of the show. This one's called The Rundown. This is where I tell you about some stuff that's gone on in the news. VP edition. If we were real journalists, of course, it would sound something like this. Direct from the NABJ.
From Beltway Radio and Beyond in Washington, D.C., I'm J. Scott Smith. And this is the part of the hour where I tell you some stuff that's going on in the news.
That's Emmy-nominated J. Scott Smith.
Yes.
So what we want to talk about is Vice President Harris picked her own VP.
Yep.
Which his name is Tim Walz.
Tim Walz.
He is the current governor of Minnesota. Before that, he served for like a decade or so in the House. And then before that, he was a school teacher and football coach, and also in the National Guard for 25 years.
Yeah.
So along the way, he picked up a DUI because he's from Minnesota. I think that's a requirement. Actually, he's from Nebraska. He's from the Upper Midwest. Yes. That is a requirement in the Upper Midwest.
The laws changed on him.
Yes. I mean, look, let's be clear about a few things. There isn't actually a drinking age in Wisconsin. Like, sure. As long as your parents are with you, you can drink anywhere. It's fine. So that's Wisconsin, not Minnesota. But anyway, so like Tim Walz, he built up a pretty substantial record of successes while he was governor, including codifying Roe, or some version of it in Minnesota to protect women and pregnant people. He passed or signed free school lunch for all the children. He got tampons and pads and menstrual products into schools to make that available. He also got praised by Trump during the George Floyd protests in Minnesota for calling out the National Guard and having them ready and on standby to keep the peace, which he used judiciously and didn't like crack a bunch of skulls and all that kind of stuff. He's done a pretty bang up job. He's been reelected there, and you know he had been reelected in his congressional seat
used to have an
times.
A+ rating by the NRA,
and he had an NRA A+ rating,
which is that's insane. Like
it's not that insane for a Midwestern Democrat,
but the fact in the sense that like this is the person that's on like the ticket. I think it's a good thing, actually.
It is a great thing.
Yeah.
He's from rural Nebraska. He grew up in a rural area. He went on to become a school teacher and football coach. While he was football coach, he was also the advisor to the Gay Straight Alliance in the student section or at the school. He was a teacher for a long time, for like 20 years or something like that, you know, and won games. But he's also like a dad.
Yeah.
He's like super dad. And we haven't had a national dad since Bill Cosby, and that didn't go well. No. But like the country hasn't had like a dad to look at in a while. Even Obama, you know, when he was president, he was still a little too cool to be like super dad.
Yeah.
Like he had the dad genes. That wasn't cool, but
still, you're too young to be the dad.
Yeah. But Walz, who is the same age as Harris, by the way, everybody's like, oh, yeah, well, he's a lot older than her. No, a couple months. But he's like the good guy. And, you know, you've seen the memes going around that, like, Walz would challenge Vance to a tire-changing contest. Or, you know, like, it's all of these things where he's just like this wholesomely decent guy. But there's also some of these things of, like, good examples of how he can talk to people who aren't San Francisco Democrats, liberals and stuff. You know, he talks about freedom.
Yeah.
He says, I thought the Republicans cared about freedom. Turns out they want freedom to tell the government to tell you what to do. Yeah. And he's got this great line.
Yes.
Mind your own damn business.
And that speaks to a majority of people in the states that are going to win this election.
If you talk to people in red states or in red areas, one of the things that they will say is, look, we just want to be left alone.
That's all they say.
They say this all the time. What they mean is they want to be left alone to do some weird, awful shit, but they want to be left alone.
Yeah.
You know, you can just leave us out here in the boondocks and we won't bother you. They kind of mean that.
Yeah.
You know, that's pretty close to mind your own damn business.
Yeah.
You know?
As long as they're not hurting anybody.
Yeah. There's a song I like by a guy called Josh Thompson where it says, like, the line is something like, these houses are protected by the good Lord and a gun. You might meet them both if you show up here not welcome, son.
Yeah.
That's pretty close to mind your own damn business.
Yeah.
So he can talk like that. He also says that there's some video of him, like, with his daughter who is a vegetarian, and he's, like, ordering food for the family. And he's like, we'll have 4 burgers. And she goes, Dad, I'm a vegetarian. He goes, I'm sorry, turkey then for her. And she's like, no, that's not any better. And he's like, what are you talking about? It's not a burger. Yeah, and like, hey, man.
He's pro-gun, sensible gun laws.
Yeah.
He can go in and talk, and I think that's a huge,
it's actually a pretty good shot, apparently.
Yeah. Look, so I think that's a huge opening as well, too, for, again, these specific states that they need to win the election. Like, he can go in and talk to people. It opens up opportunities.
He can go to a gun club in Georgia and talk to them while they're all having a good time shooting and talk about how, hey, look, guys, y'all lock up your guns, right? And they'll go, yeah, absolutely.
Of course.
And you keep your ammo away from the gun so your kids can't get them. He goes, absolutely. And he goes, you know, that's really what we're talking about. And they're all going to go, all right, well, I guess you're not coming here to take our guns.
You like them too much.
You like guns. It's cool.
I thought this pick was very smart.
Yes.
And I think this also showcases maybe something that she wanted to possibly do, because a lot of people thought this was going to go. I think people would think Shapiro or Kelly.
Everybody thought it was going to be Shapiro or Kelly.
Yeah, this was not the.
Walz was a distant third.
Yeah. So, I'm interested in Walz on the campaign trail by himself, and kind of, because that's what's really going to be needed from him.
Well, and they're going to have to, right? Because the time frame is so short.
Yeah, it has.
So they've got to barnstorm and be in 2 places at once, and now they've got 2 messengers who can do that, who can deliver. Let's throw, Barack and Michelle out there and do that too. Like, I mean, the message can be delivered. We have been talking about this as a group, kind of offline, about how, what does this pick mean? What are we talking about here? I think it showcases confidence in Shapiro to deliver Pennsylvania without being on the ticket.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think it demonstrates a confidence in Arizona probably breaking for Harris, and so that she didn't have to bring Kelly along. Kelly can be a strong surrogate and strong advocate.
And the Senate is still something we need.
That's right, and we don't really want to take him out of it. It's kind of nice to have a Navy fighter pilot astronaut on your side.
Yeah.
Anytime, especially since he's home. Our other astronauts aren't home. But also, that's all the preamble to the thing I want to talk about, which is that in his introduction, Walz had a chance to talk to everybody. He's there on the stage. His rally of thousands and thousands of people. Trump got really mad. He said there was only 1,500 people.
It's 12,000 people.
It was 12,000 people. They had to move it twice, the event. It was a huge, huge event. And he says,
these people fired the fuck up, yo.
Yo, they are mad. Yeah. They are ready. They are hopeful.
Yeah, that
fired up, ready to go.
Yeah, ready to go.
It's all of that. He goes out there, and here's the line about J.D. Vance. I can't wait to debate the guy. That is, if he's willing to get off that couch and show up. Aces. If you don't know what that's referring to, we're going to tell you. Here's what happened. Did we talk about this already?
I don't know if we... briefly, yeah.
Here's what happened. Somebody published a thing saying that J.D. Vance said in his book that he had sex with his couch. Turns out he didn't put that in his book, so that was fake. But the AP then ran a story saying, hey, look, that's not actually in the book. And then the AP had to retract the story because they couldn't say for sure that J.D. Vance didn't fuck his couch. He just didn't write about it in his book. So we don't know whether or not J.D. Vance has fucked his couch. Strongly believe he did, but I don't have any evidence to say that. I also don't have any evidence that he didn't fuck his couch. So, it's a great line because you can hear it how you want, right? Oh, he's lazy. He's sitting on his couch. He doesn't want to debate. Hey, that's how a lot of people heard it. But those of us who know, we heard the joke. And we're with you. We're with you, Coach Walz. We think it's funny.
No, this campaign is leaning into, I guess the kids are saying we're having a brat summer. Is that the case?
That's the word. That's the word
we're going on with.
Coconut.
Yeah. So, look, no. I think that there's a path to 270. Again, there's a lot of work that needs to be done, and I'm not discounting the misogyny and the racism of this country. Like, I know that can.
I just don't like her. She's unlikable.
But
I just don't trust her.
When I heard there was
something,
when I heard there was a white women for Kamala, like a group, and they were like, "Oh, our group is more about reckoning." I was like, "Oh, well, what? That's, okay, all right." This group is thousands of people too. It's not like it's 200 folks. Like
between the time that Walz was announced on the ticket to like the next day, $36 million came pouring in.
Let's start there. Like that alone.
That's a month's worth of fundraising in a day.
Because I assume if you've donated, you're going to go out and vote.
Absolutely.
I just assume that.
And look.
And that could turn a very close election. Let's say it's close. That could turn a close election.
We have said on this show and in other places all over that like one of the things that hurts the Democrats is that we're all too cerebral and we all talk about like, oh no, we don't want to engage in nonsense. We want to just talk about policy and we want to and we keep saying, no, we need somebody who goes out there and calls J.D. Vance a couch fucker.
Yeah, a little bit.
And we now have our guy, and it's not me. I was ready.
You were ready.
I was like, yo, I'm ready, Vice President Harris. You can call me. I will call J.D. Vance a couch fucker to his face. I'll call him a lot of other things, too. I'm ready. I'll call Trump a lot of things. Let's do it. And thank God and he does it so well.
Yeah. No.
And he's got that sort of Midwestern nice.
Also, too, like, if you think about the vice president as the next person in line to be president, I mean, has served
executive experience. He's military experience. He's been
serving
a school
Congress.
teacher.
Yeah, school teacher. I think this is huge for unions right now.
For educators
in general. Like
football in general.
Yeah.
You know, football coaches, that's leading a whole organization.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot that they could do with this VP pick. And, yeah, I think it seems now, again, for consecutive weeks, that we're not idiots.
That hopey-changey stuff is working.
Yeah, like, we're not idiots. We understand that there are other ways, there are successful ways to win elections. It's about inspiring and persuading people.
It's also about ground game.
Yeah, and they have
the Harris campaign's got ground game. The Trump people have no offices. They closed all their offices. They fired all their staff.
They thought that they had because they did.
Well, they also, because they diverted all the money that would have been for that operation to the legal fight.
Well, that, yes. But they also started trying to win states that they thought wouldn't have been in play. And they put money there. And it's like, well, no, you should have.
But they're not running ads.
They're not running ads.
They're running short of cash, and they spent it all on Trump's legal bills. So, I mean, hey, keep it up, y'all. Speaking of democracy, let's ask the Afrikaners some questions.
Why is this not in Black News?
Because he's African. It's funny. You can bell that. Yes. Don't worry. Elon's going to come up later in the story, too. So, as you may know, there's ChatGPT and some of these other ones. And then there's this one. I don't know how to pronounce this word.
Me either. What is it?
Is Grok? It Grok or Grok? I don't know. It's Elon's personal chatbot. And he bills it as this thing that it's unwoke chatbot, whereas Google has, tried.
Their chatbots, they're all unwoke.
Yes.
It's crazy. What the hell are they talking about?
If there's anything
they're trained on the internet.
Yes. If there's anything anybody has learned is that if you make a robot and train it on a large language model that involves any piece of the internet, It's going to turn out to be a raving lunatic racist in 5 seconds. Yes. But anyway, Grok?
Grok?
What are we calling it? Grok. That's
Grok.
what we're going with. Grok is out here lying. Like a lot. And this time it might be on purpose.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, so like the chatbots make a lot of mistakes, right? Because they're bots. They're not great yet. They're not people, and they don't fact check anything. They just whatever's most popular must be the right answer, and so therefore that's what they say. So, but the Grok is out here telling people things that aren't true about voting. The chatbot wrongly told social media users that Vice President Kamala Harris had missed the ballot deadline in 9 states, including Alabama, Michigan, Minnesota, Indiana, New Mexico. There's a New Mexico? Ohio, Texas, Pennsylvania, and Washington.
No, that's RFK. Sorry.
It said Harris was ineligible to appear on the ballot. That's a bear of a joke.
Yeah. Oh.
On the ballot in those states in place of Biden. Quote, this is false. All 9 states, the opposite is true. So secretaries of state of Minnesota, Pennsylvania, Washington, Michigan, New Mexico, they sued.
Good.
And they're like, no, that's not true. And you can't do that. And that's not right. Fortunately, Grok is only available to Twitter Premium users and Premium Plus subscribers.
So only they need to pay.
So there's like only 15 people using this. I don't know who's actually paying for that. Grok was also able to repeat misinformation for more than a week before it was finally corrected. Minnesota Secretary of State Steve Simon, who spearheaded the letter in the lawsuit, told the Washington Post that Twitter's response to the problem was a mere shoulder shrug. Voters should reach out to their local or state election officials to find out how, when, and where they can vote.
At least they're getting a response from Twitter nowadays. Like, before the communication was saying you the poop emoji. You didn't see that?
No,
Yeah,
I remember that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, so at least they're getting a response. I think
they might
we're
have
moving
hired
forward.
back 3 or 4 of those people.
Just three or four, not many.
The officials urged Twitter to correct Grok's problem and told it to tell users that go to canivote.org when asking these election questions. To be clear, Vice President Harris is on the ballot in all of the states. You can vote for her. You should vote for her. If you want to vote for Donald Trump, your election day is a different day.
Stop this.
I'm worse than
You're
Grok.
Grok.
Yeah. We are trying our best to be above board on this. Croc. It's a crock of grok. There's no reason to cheat at elections, right? If your ideas are sound and you've got the most people who support your plans, you shouldn't have to cheat. You shouldn't have to try to keep people from voting.
Right.
So there you go, Elon. Speaking of idiots, what's his name? Rittenhouse.
Yeah.
Oof. Murderer Kyle Rittenhouse.
Yes.
Has promised to support Donald Trump in November's U.S. elections, reversing comments hours earlier that he would vote against him because he was, quote, bad on protecting gun rights. Okay. So, first of all, you shouldn't care what this mushed up accidental s'mores bar has to say about anything here. Speaking of people from the Midwest, he probably...
Go blue.
Oh, wow.
He's from Illinois.
Oh,
Thank you.
my. Oh, my.
He's from Illinois.
Wow.
He's not from Michigan. Kyle Rittenhouse is to the Midwest what Colorado is to the Pac-12.
Wow.
That's how I worked that one out. It took me a minute. Yeah. He fuck him. He's a kid who shot some people, and then he got famous because the cops gave him water instead of doing what they're supposed to do, which is arrest him. They did eventually arrest him, and then they did eventually let him go because they said he was white and he had a gun, and that was fine.
Yeah.
So now he's been a conservative campaigner and stuff and a big gun advocate, and he goes to all these appearances where people cheer him for killing people. Very normal stuff, you know, as you do in the United States all the time. And I don't know, at some point he got the idea that that Trump was soft on guns or he wasn't an absolutist.
Well, yeah, because he definitely, I assume there's comments on what the bump stop.
Yeah, well, he tried. Right? He tried to ban the bump stock after the other murderer guy killed 60 people in Las Vegas,
which is insane,
at a country concert.
Insane.
Yeah, and so then he said, "Here's the quote: If you cannot be completely uncompromisable on the Second Amendment, I will not vote for you," he said on Twitter. "We need champions of the Second Amendment, or our rights will be eaten away and eroded each day." And then he said, "I support my decision, and I have no takebacks."
No takebacks. Wow.
And then 12 hours later, he had a takeback. He said, quote, "A series of productive conversations with members of the Trump team, and I am confident that he will be the strong ally gun owners need to defend our Second Amendment rights." He said that his earlier comments were ill-informed and unproductive. Whew. You gotta love the intellectual consistency of the far right.
I'm just saying they fall, but what the scary part is that they fall in line. Even this individual that wanted to break, obviously it seemed he wanted to break from his support because he didn't believe that Trump went far enough to the right, fell right back in line, and we could see that through a variety of people, whether it's Nikki Haley, you can see that. Who else you want to throw? Like Bill Barr is another one. There's just individuals who doesn't matter, they fall in line, and I think that's
how a cult operates.
That's how it operates.
But this kind of answers one of those questions that you had posed several weeks ago about what happens if Trump comes out and says, "Hey, we need gun safety laws."
Yes.
What would they do?
Yeah,
and the answer is apparently knuckle under.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, he was the bump stock thing. Trump banned bump stocks in 2018, or the ATF tried to. The Supreme Court overruled that now. And Trump has said that like some of these semi-automatic weapons are a little too much, and there's really no need for them. And here, this guy. So maybe, I mean, to your point, there is some daylight, some opportunity.
Maybe, yeah, because even immediately capitulated. Like,
even this guy.
Yeah.
Now, to be fair, he's 21. I mean, what kind of like intellectual consistency could he have?
Right.
He's from the Midwest. He's already been drinking for several years, but. He doesn't even really know anything. I mean, this kid's been... I have shoes older than him. I'm not making that up. It's a pair of Iversons from the 90s. They're great for basketball. But, like, you know...
Yeah, I think they realize that he's the only... I mean, in a sense, at this point in time...
Get back in line, kid.
Yeah, he's the only hope. And, like, I could easily see the Trump campaign calling and being like, yo,
what are you doing?
What are you doing?
Yeah. You're hurting the cause, kid. So, anyway, please continue eating yourselves. I really love watching MAGA turn on itself.
Slowly happening.
MTG and Bober getting in a fight. I mean, it's all kind of good stuff. Speaking of which, I think we should take a break.
Let's take a break.
All right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we are going to talk about world news. Did you know there was stuff outside the United States?
Yes.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but true. All right, you're listening to Chip Chat on Beltway Radio and beyond.
Sweeps.
And we're not getting what humans always thought was key, the bone broth. 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 Well, now it's the next level of that. It's caveman. But hey, I need a glass of caveman. Caveman. Man, it's better than Ovaltine. Better than Ovaltine. It's just unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Caveman is just over the top. What in the world? But now with the milk, I was like, whoa, this has milk in it. Whoa. It tastes like good. Man, this tastes so good. Tastes like the best milkshake ever. It tastes like Ovaltine. It tastes like Ovaltine. It tastes like Ovaltine. Like good. It tastes like Ovaltine. It tastes like Ovaltine. It tastes like Ovaltine. Like good. Whoa.
This is I can say without a doubt, at least in my experience,
that this is literally... This is a super home run available at InfoWarsLife.com, and it supports the broadcast. Your leftist ass like corn on the cob. I'm ready. I will eat your ass. I will eat your leftist ass like corn on the cob. I'm ready. I will eat you. I will eat your ass. My children aren't going hungry. I'll do it. I'll drink your blood. And I'm starting to think about having to eat my neighbors. You think I like sizing up? I'm gonna haul him up by chain. Chop his ass up, size it up. I'm gonna haul him up by chain. Chop, 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 chop. I will eat your leftist ass like corn on the cob. I'm ready. I will eat your ass. I will eat your leftist ass like corn on the cob. I'm ready. I will eat you. I will eat your ass. I'll barbecue your ass flat. I will cook your ass up so fast, and I'll tell them, oh, I killed a cow out back, baby. You think Christ would eat somebody? He would never do that. I will. I'm ready to hang them up, gut them and skin them and chop them up. You know what? I'm ready. I will eat your leftist ass like corn on the cob. I'm ready. I will eat your ass. I will eat your leftist ass like corn on the cob. I'm ready. I will eat you. I will eat your ass. I will eat your leftist ass like corn on the cob. I'm ready. I will eat your ass. I will eat your leftist ass like corn on the cob. I'm ready. I will eat you. I will eat your ass. That's why I want the globalists to know. I will eat your ass first. I swear to God, if it's the last thing I do, I'm going to get my hands around your throat.
All right, welcome back to Chip Chat here on Beltway Radio and Beyond. I'm your host, Chip. With me is Tez.
What's popping me out?
And that was who, Tez?
That's Alex Jones.
That's your favorite song.
Yes, my favorite song. And again, I apologize to anyone who's been affected by the, tragic things that he believes did not happen. So put that disclaimer on it as I laugh at those videos way more than I should.
Yes.
Oh, God, so funny.
Hey, if you're into eating ass, specifically leftist, call Tez.
Oh, God.
All right, so this segment is called World News. This is about things that happen outside of the United States. One of the things that's happening outside the United States is that Benjamin Netanyahu, known as Bibi, is trying to start a bigger war. He's already got a pretty bad one going on, a couple of them, really. He wants another one. So, while we were off and the things that didn't happen, they took out the head of Hamas.
Yeah.
The guy who they were negotiating a ceasefire and hostage deal with. As they're negotiating it, that guy was like, hey, I need a weekend off from negotiating. I need to go to Tehran for the swearing in of their new president. And the reason they needed a new president was because their other president died in a helicopter crash, which was not caused by the Israelis.
No.
It was just weather. So he was in Iran, which, hates Israel, and they don't like them either. And, they've already had a bit of an exchange fairly recently, several hundred missiles back and forth. Well, he died. Now, I haven't heard exactly the method yet, but it wasn't a strike. It wasn't an airstrike.
They said that
it was an inside job.
2 months earlier, there's been explosives inside where he was located up to 2 months prior, and the only individuals who could have known of that would have been the Islamic Guard.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's got to be an inside job. I mean, that's how that happens.
And that's, I think, but also it's once we start going in and killing folks in their own place, all bets kind of end up being off. I don't really know where this goes. I don't see anything positive happening from this.
Nothing positive.
Nothing
here.
at all.
So look, the Israelis have demonstrated, and I should say the Netanyahu regime has demonstrated their ability and willingness to commit assassinations, political, military, or otherwise, in other countries, kind of at will, whenever they want to.
It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, this isn't a new thing.
No.
Right? The IDF and the Israeli Secret Services and Mossad, Shin Bet, and all that, they've been pretty good at this for a long time. And the rest of the world has, for the most part, kind of let it go. because the people that they tend to take out tend to be people that the rest of the world wants out. Even people in the Arab world want these people gone because they're problems, okay? They're terrorists. But on the other hand, and I'm not saying you shouldn't kill terrorists.
Right.
You should. But this was the guy that they were negotiating with. So if you ever have any hope...
It's no good faith at this point, right?
There's no good faith, and immediately who Hamas named as the successor is Sinwar, the guy that they're after, who is in Gaza, who perpetrated the attack of October 7th. So if you thought there was a chance to like work out a deal, forget it. This has thrown several gallons of gas on an already burning fire.
Yeah.
Lebanon is a powder keg right now. People are fleeing. You should know that people are running away, trying to get out of Lebanon, Beirut or otherwise. And Hezbollah, which is a political party, they control a lot of the government, and they are the largest military operation in Lebanon, bigger than the Lebanese army. They are allied with Iran. They are allied with Hamas. They are very upset about this. They have indicated that they are ready to attack. There are Iranian-aligned militias in Iraq who are ready to attack. And the last time that this thing kind of happened, when the Israelis took out another bad guy, the Iranians responded by firing 300 missiles and drones at Israel, which they pretty well telegraphed in advance. And the United States, England, France, and Jordan, and the UAE and the Israelis shot them all down. Nobody got hurt. And it was kind of left at that. But that wasn't good enough for Benjamin Netanyahu. He wants this war.
Yeah.
And so, like, if anybody thought that he was going to negotiate and end the war in Gaza and get the hostages back, this is very clearly not what he's interested in doing. He's interested in prolonging this as long as possible, which we've said on the show many times, is to keep himself out of prison. And he's willing to do it by aligning with a bunch of extremists on the Israeli right, settlers and stuff, who are talking in terms of genocide of the people in Gaza and in the West Bank. I should point out that these guys are actively using the conflict in Gaza as an excuse or a distraction to seize land and steal things from Palestinians who live there in the West Bank, like literally walking in, taking their house and being like, this is my house now, get out of here. And they're like, what do you mean this is your house? And the guy's like, yeah, it's my house. And they go, you can't steal our house. And he's like, well, if I don't, somebody else is gonna. No, not how we should do things.
And there's no apparatus inside the Israeli government to stop this.
No, it's got full support.
It's full support, exactly.
Let's not even pretend that it's just partial or, kind of tacit approval, right?
Yeah,
This is explicit, go out and grab stuff and commit these acts of violence.
As we know in this country how settlers work.
Yes.
It's always a settler. You can't even really have a settler without a backing of the government.
You really can't have a settler without... Settler isn't the right word.
Yeah, right. And maybe it is, though, because settler, as I think of it, is usually taking something from somebody else.
Well, yeah, okay. But if you want to think of, like, let's say we put a human colony on the moon. Okay, we're settling the moon.
Yeah.
We're not taking it from anybody else that we know of.
That we know of, yeah.
Right.
Fair.
But, like, if you go to another part of the earth and be like, yo, this is mine now, no.
It's conquest, but settler is
the
the word we say. But,
yes.
I look at settler, when I hear, and I think a majority of people, when they hear settler now, it's not like a nice thing. It's like, oh, a settler is someone who's coming to take something from somebody else.
Yes.
Which I don't think is the actual definition of it.
No, that's not what that word means.
No, it means to take something that is empty, I assume, and then actually settle it.
Yeah, and the Israelis would contend that these places are empty because nobody's actively living there or cultivating it or farming it. And the reason they're not is because, in large part, they're prevented from doing so. Or in other cases, they're settling on, like, outcroppings of rock on the top of a mountain where nobody could cultivate anything, and they go, oh, well, it's unused land. Well, that's not how that works. So it's not good, and this is not helping. But don't worry, the United States is involved. So we've moved a bunch of F-22s, several naval vessels, and a bunch of other equipment closer to the area, because if the Iranians and their proxies do attack Israel, whether it's from Lebanon or from Yemen with the Houthis, or whether it's Iran themselves or out of these militias in Iraq, the United States is going to work with the Israelis to defend it. There is a question, though, about the capability of the aligned powers to actually shoot down all of the missiles.
Right.
Because Hezbollah's got a fuck ton of missiles, Iran's got several metric fuck tons of missiles, and the Houthis have several yet more fuck tons of missiles. And it's not clear that the overall technological superiority of the Western world can actually shoot all these down. And there might be some casualties in Israel. Also, remember that the last time there was help from Jordan and from UAE and stuff. The Jordanians, who by and large don't really talk to Iran, have gone over there to Iran and asked them to cool it and please don't respond. Jordan and Egypt have peace treaties with Israel. They're the only Arab countries with peace treaties, although the Gulf Arabs have sort of a bit of an understanding, and they don't really like the Iranians. But this has crossed so many lines that, you know, Egypt also sent a delegation to Iran to try to sort of cool things down. If the Iranians get some of the missiles through, and I'm saying Iranians collectively, whether that's Hezbollah, Houthis, or whatever,
right?
If they get something through the net and kill several Israelis, and Israel responds, we're talking about a possible nuclear conflagration. Because if they get a few missiles through, Israel's got missiles. They've also got fighter aircraft. They've also got bombers. They've got nukes.
Yeah.
And if Bibi's pissed off enough.
See, there is where if Vladimir Putin will not use them, there's no way in hell, because then that's an audacious move that really kind of ruptures. You become kind of almost an outcast nation if you need. There's an approval, there's an approval from certain nations before you can just go ahead and.
You can't nuke somebody without the United States saying it's okay.
There's only one empire that allows people to do that, and it's the one
nuke people.
Yeah, we tell people when they're allowed. Within the certain set of nations, I guess probably was it G7. I assume that. Yeah, right. That's really
Israel's not in the G7, but yes.
But right, I guess.
But in the world of nations, yes.
In the world of nations, that's going to be
nobody. The U.S. isn't telling North Korea when.
Yeah, exactly. But Vladimir Putin is like, no, because again,
he hasn't done it yet.
But also too, it's not like that move is so audacious that I still believe us as like just regular humans. No one's moving to that, and there's been war between Israel and again its neighbors, and they haven't done that in the past.
Not since they've been nuclear armed. The last real war between Israel and its neighbors happens in 1973, and they weren't nuclear armed then. And there is a huge imbalance in military capability right now between what Israel's got and the ability to use it, and what the rest of the surrounding countries have and their ability to use it. Although, I should point out that gap has somewhat narrowed. You know, 15 years ago, the rockets that were being fired at Israel were unguided, essentially large bottle rockets. They are now ballistic missiles. So they have gotten better, but still, it's not a good situation.
It's not good, yeah.
And I want to just point that out to remind everybody that the Americans are working hard at this. You know, the State Department is in overdrive. Blinken has been back and forth. You haven't seen him on TV for a reason. There might be kind of a limit here.
Yeah, at a certain point.
Between what America and the Arab allies of Israel can do to tell them to cool it should they actually suffer some casualties as a result of an attack by Iran. That would be a kind of all bets are off, fuck it all, let's do it.
Yeah, but also too, like in a war with Hamas, if you're going in and you're killing people in other countries, like there's gonna be a response. That's usually what happens.
Yeah, but the Israelis feel like that it's their right to do that and not get response.
Exactly. Yeah, and a variety of nations have went to Iran and asked them to not do that, right? And to make that so.
It does feel like that's a weird ask.
It is a weird ask, right? But like to that point there, other nations make that so for Israel to feel that way because it's like, all right.
Yes.
Yeah, we did this, so what?
Yeah.
But I'm like, it's a war. Like, it's like, all right, like it's a war with Hamas.
There's no rules in war.
There isn't, yeah. So it's like, all right, like there should be some type of response. I mean, but if you wanted to get the hostages back, if you wanted to end the war, you probably wouldn't have killed the person you're negotiating with. Yeah,
right.
Exactly. That's what we know.
Turn the script a little bit and just say, like, if this had happened where, I don't know, a visiting dignitary from Britain had been killed by the Soviets or the Russians while in Chicago, what would we have done? We'd have nuked Moscow in a second. We wouldn't have waited. We wouldn't have
crazy.
Been like,
you
can't be doing that. We wouldn't have had any negotiations. We wouldn't have gone to the UN. We'd have just been like, boom, do it. Because you can't do that kind of thing.
No.
But yet,
it's been done.
Here it is.
Yeah.
Speaking of things you can't do, Tez.
Yeah, I saw this story.
What's going on in your
I saw this story
country?
Randomly on the BBC when I was
randomly.
I did not know this was going on at first. I did not know this was going on at first. Maybe
tell everybody what's going on.
There's just a huge amount of riots happening in England in different parts, and as I understand it, a lot of this is around again immigration.
Yes,
which obviously this has been a sore subject.
Nobody's from England
anymore. And I guess I'm confused and looking through the story of like where this is bubbled up for. But as I read through at the end, it's like, oh, this is a common story of the internet provoking people really to go do things.
Yes,
where there isn't an actual problem. I don't think. Like
correct.
And that's what I got
Elon
from this.
Is involved.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so here's what did happen.
Yeah,
there was a terrible attack where some kids were stabbed by a crazy guy.
Yeah.
In England, and the guy who stabbed them was 17 years old.
Yeah.
He turns out to be from England. He's born in England.
Yeah.
But because he's underage, the authorities didn't release his name and information when they arrested him. And so without that concrete information out there, the internet was like, oh,
we know who did it.
A Muslim refugee.
Migrant crime.
Yeah. And so a bunch of far-right, anti-immigrant English people started rioting and burning hotels, housing migrants, refugees who had been granted status by the government, burning mosques, attacking random people on the street. They killed several people.
What was that movie, the John Singleton movie, where, just like you said, a whole bunch of people, there is a black guy who was allegedly said he raped a white woman, but the woman lied, and he pretty much destroyed the entire town.
A lot of that movie.
Well,
I mean, To Kill a Mockingbird and all that other stuff.
This
every lynching.
Yeah, that. But this movie in particular, I forgot the name of it, but it kind of reminds me of that. It's like how you lie about something that you have limited information about.
So this is the thing that I really kind of wanted to touch on.
This is a very interesting story.
It's a very interesting story because what happened was these guys attacked a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
The British police, which you got to understand that in Britain, first of all, there is no free speech laws.
No.
You can't just say anything.
Yeah, exactly.
And also, it's a national police force.
Yeah.
Okay. So Prime Minister Keir Starmer, Sir Keir Starmer, calls out the cops. They bring full force out there in response to this. They arrest all of these guys 500 people, I think, have been arrested so far, some of which have already been charged, tried, convicted, and imprisoned. This happened on Monday. This is why we fought a revolution to get away from that shit.
It's crazy.
But they
due process.
It's due process.
I mean, it is. It's their due process.
Starmer said, we'll keep the courts open 24/7 if we have to put all these guys under the jail. Yeah. The response from the government has been very strong to say this is absolutely unacceptable.
As it should be.
As correct. And they have put these guys in prison. They've given them very stiff sentences. They've travel bans, all kinds of stuff. It's really, really serious response. And that sounded pretty good. And then there was this possibility of a sort of counter-strike, right? That the far-right guys would regroup, and they had a list of places that they were going to attack. And that got out, which may have not been a real list, but whatever. It got out. And the rest of the people of England, who aren't a bunch of skinhead fuckheads, responded and showed up and surrounded all of the potential targets, not the cops, the people. Somehow they printed up signs that fast. Really
crazy operation.
And they were like, no, we're not going to let this happen. Racists, go home. And they had all these cool chants. You know, this is what community looks like, all kinds of stuff.
Who's going to run the restaurants, damn it?
Yeah.
Well, that's really...
I need my curry.
Yeah, exactly. What the hell is going on? These crazy people, these crazy 500...
Consequence of empire.
Exactly. These crazy 500 people trying to ruin all the food.
Right,
That's insane. That's what these people are thinking. They're like, yo,
that's fair. Have you had English food?
It's bad.
Yeah, it's not good.
It's not good.
Fought whole conquest empires to get spices.
Yes.
That's a wild thing.
No, that
we need spices.
A flavor-starved nation
was so desperate for spices that they enslaved half a continent.
Yeah. That's it.
That's important.
Yeah.
Have you had coriander? So
it's really good.
Yeah, definitely worth several million lives. So anyway, the people responded, and then, you know, the cops responded, and they were all out there, and these planned sort of counter-strike riots that were going to maybe happen on Wednesday, they didn't happen. The far-right guys turned chicken shit and went home, or they didn't show up, or maybe they were never going to show up.
Right.
We don't really know. But it's a tense and very fraught situation.
This goes back to the whole thing around like immigration around the world right now and how that becomes this hot button issue. And you weave into, I forgot what the quote in this was really good. They called him hold on, what was the exact quote here? There was a quote on the higher influence keyboard warriors who are inciting serious violence. There will be action taken against them. Arrest might not happen immediately, but those cases are being built and the intelligence is being built around them. Yeah. Like, keyboard warriors, a lot of people who can stoke up this like high emotion around things that are untrue and then get people to then like act upon this.
On it. It's who's the highest profile one of those keyboard warriors? It's one Mr. Elon Musk.
Yeah.
Who did engage with this and tweeted out that England was about to have a civil war. He tweeted out a bunch of misinformation about things that had not happened and were not going to happen. He falsely accused a bunch of other people to his 200 million followers, of which you don't have a choice to be one because Twitter
like
makes
Tom
you see it.
And MySpace.
Yeah. And
it's insane. It's always your friend.
Yeah. And he engaged in that, and then the government was like, yo, Elon, please don't do that. And he was like, try and stop me.
Also, I think what's very frustrating, because this could be very calculated by him, and maybe he wants to like be the overlord of the internet and like guide people's like thoughts and like their inner feelings.
He's the chief incel.
Right.
I mean, he's out there commanding those.
Is it that he just sits around and just smoking weed and it's
bored.
just like, fuck it, and that's, I think, what's more crazy to me. I think it's more of that sometimes. It's just
he's just high and stupid.
Oh, yeah, and just like, I know this isn't true. I'm going to go, because he knows these things aren't true.
He just wants to see what happens.
Let's just see what happens.
That's really glib.
That's why I think it's really insidious of what some of these fucks are doing.
One of the things that this kind of highlighted to me and was worth kind of bringing up is I've had several conversations recently with people who have been engaging in various anti-Jewish conspiracies, saying that the reason the United States isn't putting more pressure on Israel is because there's an enforcement mechanism that the Jews, quote, control something.
But the enforcement mechanism is that there's a policy after World War II about where Israel is in the world and how this country responds. And this is not new.
No, that part isn't really the thing that I wanted to talk about. What I wanted to talk about was I was cautioning some of these folks that I was talking about that stirring up these kinds of conspiracies or these kinds of anti-insert group here thoughts and conversations, when they aren't true in particular, can lead to violence, can lead to people being at risk.
Yeah, that's true.
And you need to be very careful about engaging in that kind of speech. Even if you might think that it's true, you shouldn't be saying that because of look at what can happen. And here is a very good example of what can happen when people engage in artificial, fake blame games and scapegoating and attacking whole groups of people for shit that did not happen and is not true. Other people will take that and run with it, and they will begin to commit acts of violence. And for the folks who have been injured by these riots, by these thugs who are out here perpetrating this act of violence against brown people in Britain, those people are the victims of that kind of conspiratorial bullshit.
Yeah, it's the same as when, like, before you retweet something or anything, by not think about
it.
Yeah, think about what that is, like who's sending it, maybe search for 2 or 3 sources. But I think we're asking a lot of people who aren't going to do that.
Right, but not just that. Don't just say things that aren't true.
Yeah.
You can't just be like, well, you know how they are. The second you do that, you're feeding this kind of violence.
Yeah.
The anonymous they becomes a target.
But when you have the leading presidential candidate doing the same thing, taking a whole speech, the whole RNC was around this mythical they.
Yes. They are trying to take, yes. And it can lead to violence. But I would also point out, this is not limited to stuff on the right.
No, not at all. No, it's left.
So to my various insert here minority groups of brothers and sisters, if the thing you're saying is also a thing that the Klan says, don't do that thing. That's an easy bar to clear. And even if you think that it's true, if you arrived at the same conclusion the Klan did, even if you arrived at it from a different perspective, don't. Not a good decision.
Yeah.
Not how we do things here. If the Klan agrees with you, bad side.
Bad side.
Don't be on that.
Not a good ally.
No. There was an interesting quote in this story here about the riots in Britain that I thought was very pertinent to this show. It said, quote, on the question of who and what is driving the violence, a police source said, it is a really nuanced picture. There is a level of coordination. There's a level of planning. It's not particularly sophisticated. Got nuance in there.
There is, yeah.
You should be proud.
It is, yeah. I mean, like people are online saying these things, but it's not like there's like a specific group, and it's not like they've really again coordinated enough to it's just a bunch of people on a damn Facebook thread
yelling, but then they go outside and do the thing. Like, hey, I'm mad about that too. Come on, let's go. And then grab your bat.
Except it's the Muslims.
It's a cricket bat, so it doesn't hurt as much.
You know who plays cricket?
Jamaica.
Yeah, brown people.
Yeah, not very
Black
well,
people.
though. Well, no, brown people play
cricket. Brown people do,
Jamaica currently not.
No.
I mean, they did all right, but.
No. Not like our Indian brothers and sisters.
Yeah, South Asians, great at the cricket.
Great.
Way to go, Empire.
Yeah.
It's coming home.
No.
All right, you want to do a Tez talk, or you want to take a break?
We can keep it quick with the Tez talk. This one here is around Metro.
Ass birds.
No, not this time. No, but it's about overworked and drunk Metro employees.
Can we apply?
Yo, no. Get overtime and then you can just be drunk on the job.
Yeah,
sounds great, right?
I'm overworked and drunk.
No, but this came out of the Post. It's from a watchdog group, and it said too many DC Metro trains are run by exhausted or drunk drivers. And they proceed to go through in this article, and this is like according to the
the Red Eye Line.
Oh God, Red Eye Line. That's really good. So according to the Federal Transit Administration, and I didn't know this, public transit is the only mode of transportation that has no standard for how much rest workers should get between shifts.
Right.
Which is
truckers have all kinds of rules. Pilots have all kinds of rules. Bus drivers, no rules.
No rules. And there have been like
school bus drivers have rules.
Good. Well, thank God for the kids.
The rest of you,
the future,
totally on your own.
You're on your own. But a few things that I had like heard a few mishaps, but didn't know that there were this many. But there's been some like near misses and like close calls on Metro, similar to like in our airspace as well too. Like just and
talk about overwork.
Right. There hasn't been a fatality since 2009 and the big crash that happened outside Fort Totten. But there are a few of these mishaps that have happened, and like one of these goes a different way. Again, you end up having a bunch of people hurt or God forbid dead. And again, this supervisor, right, who ended up putting like a switch in the wrong direction, and I think the trains came within 150 feet of colliding. This is in Huntington Station. He was working his 11th consecutive day, a mix of day and overnight shifts, according to the safety report. And then one incident investigated by the group involved a train operator working on his 18th consecutive day.
Jesus.
So that's insane. 18 days straight.
It's more than half a month.
More than half a month. And I'm based on a story that the Post did, and this might be now, maybe like 6 or 7 years ago, around like overtime and rampant overtime that happens inside Metro.
Oh, yeah.
I wonder if there's a combination, obviously, of this. If people are like, yo, I'm going to rack up as much money as I can.
Well, sure, why wouldn't they?
But there's no guardrails against this.
There's no rules.
And it also goes back to, we need to quickly move to going back to automated trains.
Yes.
I know we are afraid of that. And
well, the reason that we went to the
away
from the automated trains was because of the crash, because the technology had failed us. But yeah, I think that
one time.
Yeah. And then we overswung the pendulum.
One time that did it. It was, I get it. That crash was insane.
Yeah, but it was more about the type of train car than it was about the failure of the technology to coordinate them. I'm not sure that having tired drivers is better than having an occasional technological failure.
Right.
And, to be clear also, when the automated trains are operating, there's still a person in the driver's seat. They're not driverless. And, they can stop the train if they
exactly.
have to.
And some of these crashes have been averted because operators
because the person notices that
there's headlights.
Yes.
Ah!
Thank
God.
The semi-automatic trains almost collide, and then a human goes like, oh, we should stop. But, like, this does kind of speak to a problem that we've talked about in other places within the system, that there's just not enough people to do the job.
Right.
You need more people. You need more funding. You need to direct more resources towards this. I don't know if anybody knows this, but the FAA's air traffic controllers are only 80% staffed, which means that the other 20% is all made up of overtime. And that's coming.
It's not good.
That's coming at an expense, right? Not just in dollars, but also in wear and tear on the people who do it, and burnout and all kinds of other stuff. I'm sure that WMATA's dealing with similar issues. If they're working bus drivers and train operators overtime, that's a problem. They shouldn't be working overtime. They should be hiring more people. What's stopping them from hiring more people? Is it that they can't hire more people because they're like don't have the resources to do it, or what? What?
Yeah, I think it always will come down to the funding and like.
I think no one wants to do.
No, people don't want the job.
I think a lot of people. I think a lot of people want to be Metro because
How so?
Because there's this underlying thing about like you get the Metro
job security.
Job security. Like, have you ever looked at a Metro parking lot? Looks very nice.
Yeah, they got nice cars.
They're very nice cars. They're always very nice.
If you say that, then they should promote that, and they don't. So the way I see it is like I doubt that either A, you have the public not aware that there are Metro jobs available. Even though the only Metro job I see available is Metro Police.
That's the only one.
Yeah.
That's the point.
And then on top of that, it's just like, okay, hearing a story like that is like, okay, why do I want this?
Right. I also think it goes, I really want to look back on this story that they did like an expose on Metro. Again, it might be going on like 5 or 6 years, but
it's longer than that. You're talking about like with the managers driving the controllers like this crazy number of hours.
Yeah,
and all this stuff.
And like I also think there might be a culture of something that's happening in Metro.
There is a cultural problem going on in Metro, but that's been a long-term problem.
Right.
There's been, I think, a lot of improvement.
Oh yes, hands down.
Over the years of the management. But look, if it comes down to resources, it comes down to resources.
Right.
If people don't want the jobs, it's because they don't pay well enough. You make them pay well enough, more people will take the jobs. So all of this has to do with, again, where are our priorities? Where are we putting our money? Where are we thinking about what we need to protect? If safety of people is a thing that matters to us, we would find the money and take it away from things that matter less, like say oil subsidies or something. I mean, there's so many places where we're needlessly investing where we could be redirecting that money towards safety.
The federal government and the city should come to an agreement of like what they're putting. That is the simplest.
The feds should pay for Metro.
And I think the feds should honestly pay for the whole thing. I know that's never going to happen, but there should be an agreement of an established price.
They should be the fourth partner.
Yes.
It is crazy.
It's their idea.
That D.C., Maryland, and Virginia have to foot the bill for something that is overwhelmingly used by the federal workforce.
And that is, again, none of those jurisdictions, like, they didn't ask for this.
No.
This is a federal government idea.
And I understand they all get benefits from it, too, and that's fine. And I'm perfectly willing to have the Commonwealth pay into Metro and be a part of that and be part of the dedicated funding. But the federal government is the biggest beneficiary of Metro, and they should be paying something for it. All they're doing is providing a congressional charter for the transit police.
And the federal government has some of the most stations that are connected, whether you look at NIH and Medical Center, Pentagon.
The biggest,
that's
most
what I'm saying.
busiest
So even outside of the city.
Is in the fucking Pentagon.
Yeah, so outside of the city, the federal government still is like a beneficiary of this. It's insane that they don't.
NIH and Pentagon, I think, account for something like 50% of the riders.
So there you have it.
It's a crazy number, and those are both outside of the district, by the way.
That is the point there. They're outside of the district.
Moco and Arlington.
So right there alone, a reason to foot this. And again, not the whole thing. No one's asking the whole thing.
Just be the fourth partner. 25%. Come on, guys.
And make sure it doesn't ever, like, it always is happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always
Every
funded.
3 years is like a big fight. Is Metro going to survive?
No, it can't be that. Yeah, it shouldn't be that.
That's a great way to do capital planning. All right. You want to do some good news?
Yeah, let's do some good news.
All right. Let's talk about some good news. Here's good news. Donald Trump started telling everybody that they could use Bitcoin to pay off the national debt.
I can see that scaring up some people.
Yeah, and then the Bitcoin just plummeted. And everybody's like, no, that's a stupid idea.
That is not why we made this.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Bitcoin paying off the national debt.
To decentralize and get away from, fiat currency and away from government control, why don't we use it to just pay off government debt?
So many Bitcoin enthusiasts are going to...
So it sent all the crypto bros into a tizzy.
Yeah,
so this is a good news story in a number of ways. One, Donald Trump said something very stupid. Two, crypto bros took an absolute whooping to their wallets and to their psyches and all that other kind of stuff. There's hardly a group of people on the planet that are less sympathetic than crypto bros. So, that's funny. And then also Trump announced that he had like a new crypto coin that he was going to, debut. There's a lot of people who are lining up to try to buy that. I hope they do. Nothing bad could happen. Should be fine. It's going to be great.
They're trading another imaginary money, but at least imaginary money that everybody believes in.
Well, it's like having a Trump beanie baby that you can make out of thin air. And that somebody else could also make.
I did that today. It's a funny story. This is a complete tangent here. But I did this today in my house, and I came up with this thing called Daddy Bucks.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And because it's just a very interesting, like, concept to, like, show, like, taxes. Like, the reason is, the reason the money is worth anything is because there's some type of tax that they ask you to go bring it back. Like,
right.
That's and you see that when you create some fake money in your house and say, all right, this is what the money can buy. And like I'm like, oh, if you can read a what's the character? One of these biscuit books to the end, that's 5 daddy bucks. You can get like no help, 5 daddy bucks. If you need a little bit of help on a book you've read before,
4 daddy bucks.
Not even 2.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, exactly. You clean the room, you only can do that 1 time a day, 1 daddy buck. Then I've ledgered obviously the what, like, if you want to watch 1 hour of PBS Kids, 2 daddy bucks. If you want to pick whatever you want to watch for 1 hour, 3 daddy bucks.
Nothing about this story is surprising me. That somebody who listens to Marketplace like it's his job has created his own version of the Fed in his house, and then he uses it to make his kid read.
Yes. Yes.
You're everything that Fox News hates.
Yo, I was walking the other day. And I was
walking. He wasn't driving also. He was walking.
From the library.
To the metro. From the library
with her. Yeah. Very frustrated at a performance. Just like, no focus. And I was like, well, what works for everybody? And I'm like, it's money. It's money. It's money. All right, so let's just create a currency. Let's back it by something. Yeah. Like it's backed by, it's real. Because, yeah, you want, today, there was a stuffy sitting on top, and I was like, oh, random, and I put this there because you were misbehaving, and it hasn't been long enough where it should come down. It's like, can I get that back? And I was like,
you got enough money.
1 daddy buck.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Take it, cool. And it's back in circuit, and we'll loan it back out.
That's right.
Yeah, so.
What's the interest rate currently?
Right now, it's 0.
When's the next policy meeting? You got to raise those rates.
Yeah, we'll see first.
Inflation's out of control.
It's a new currency. We're just getting this started. So.
Okay. Well, speaking of currency, this one here is called Fed Talk. Okay.
Good segue.
So, brilliant. You may have seen the let's call it news, talking about the markets are crashing. There's a correction. Okay,
continue.
So before you go on, I know where you're going with this, and I'm going to let you spin off and do your best Kairos doll on steroids. But here's the thing that everybody needs to know. First of all, as Kairos doll likes to say, the stock market is not the economy.
It is not.
Number 1. Number 2, there was a jobs report that came out where the number of new jobs created was 114,000 or something like that, which is lower than what was expected, partly because the Fed's job was to slow this down a bit, because as the jobs increase, the inflation increases.
Yeah.
Also, the unemployment rate ticked up a substantial amount. To be clear, not because more people got laid off, but because even more people than expected rejoined the labor market and started looking for jobs.
Right.
During the height of the inflation that was going on a year or so ago, a year and a half ago, the Fed has 2 jobs: maintain maximum employment and keep inflation at roughly 2%. Those are its only 2 jobs. And the tool it has to use for that is interest rates. It either makes it easier for money to enter the economy, or it makes it harder for money to enter the economy, and then the market is supposed to use that accordingly. I think it is fair to say, you can correct me if I'm wrong, it is fair to say that this is the intended goal of the soft landing. By keeping interest rates high for a long period of time and slowly being willing to dampen things down, but not to take your foot and jam it on the gas all of a sudden, we have achieved a cycle that has never happened in let's call it a capitalist economy before, where we had growth that was out of control, which people might call inflation. We had growth that was out of control. We got it under control, but did not cause a recession. We did not cause negative growth, which is one of the dumbest Fed words that there ever is. And things seem to be fine. They're not trouble.
It's not.
They're just fine. But people who want to just make money regardless of the situation are like, well, fine doesn't make us as much money, so we're going to panic and we are going to sell off a lot of our stuff to try to make a lot of money, which people used to call profit taking in the market, right? When things are way higher than you know they ought to be, you just sell a bunch of it and pocket that money. Yeah. Then you rebuy all your shit when it comes back down to where it's actually valued at. That's pretty much what's going on. And you can look at it over the last 3 or 4 days and see that everything that everybody panicked about on Friday is mostly finished off. I think that's a fair read on this. Yeah. Go ahead and do your best marketplace impression. I'm going to do the big timpani drums. You keep going.
I think there's three pieces of this. One, this is the intended effect, as you mentioned, of, again, raising interest rates at the rate that the Fed has over, I guess, the last 2 years, going on 2 years now. Yep.
And we're going to have a rate cut in September.
No matter what. That was going to happen no matter what.
Already
baked in.
Telegraphed.
It's baked in. And I think another piece is when the stock market has been so profitable. Yes. If you think when it falls off the cliff in those first 3 weeks from March 11th, 2020, going into like maybe April 4th, maybe April 5th, around there, right? After that, after the huge infusion of money into the economy, accompanied by the low interest rates, the stock market has continuously been on a tear.
It's at record highs.
At record highs.
Still, no matter what. It fell 1,000 points. It's down 1,000 points. Oh, I'm sorry. It's still like 10,000 points above where it was 3 years ago.
And I think that's kind of where I look at this as well, too. And it's like we've been saying that these numbers are not real in a sense.
Yes.
Like we've been saying the numbers are not real. There needs to be a recalibration in the market.
But not a correction.
Yeah, not a correction.
It just needs to get more value aligned, I think is the word that they like to use.
And I think we watched that happen. I think if you look at like the year prior in the spring with Silicon Valley Bank, and you look at this here, these are like blips that have happened to things that really, again, weren't necessarily like Silicon Valley Bank wasn't really shored up like that. Right. They weren't following the rules.
Right. And the regulators essentially handled it.
Yeah, and it was handled, and there was a dip, and we kept moving.
And a lot of the dip here seems to be driven by these AI and NVIDIA and some of these other things that seem to be a little bit overvalued. Not a little bit, way overvalued. You know, and it's a bubble within the greater economy, and it's probably not a catastrophe.
No. I do think, and I'm a huge Jerome Powell fan, I do think that he does run the risk, though, because, I think he would admit he missed cutting these rates faster.
I don't know about that.
I think he would admit that. I think they've already admitted that, and I think they've admitted that before. Yeah, we kept saying it was transitory. That was incorrect. I think they will say that.
But it was transitory. And it's just a longer term.
But the way they sold it to the public.
Yeah.
It wasn't.
That part, the way he sold it, yes, he'll admit to. But I have heard interviews with Powell, and one of the things that seems very clear here is that he has gambled on being willing to be a little late.
Yeah.
As long as he gets it right. Because you can fix that. If you go too fast in either direction, it's harder to fix.
Yeah, I just think it's probably, though it takes time to see it happen in like the real economy with rates rising, I think the reverse is it takes a little longer on the cut to that. And I think where you'll see it immediately will be with the stock market, which maybe that's, if people look to that, that's fine. But when you look into the real economy.
If cut the rates earlier while everything was on a meteoric rise, which it was of dubious value to say the least, people would have borrowed money with which to buy inflated values of stock, which would have further pushed the values of these things up without any underlying actual value of the thing that they make.
This bolsters the rate cut that happens in September.
Yes, but that has to happen to make you. People got to realize that it's not about how to make a quick buck in the short term. The Fed is not interested in that. The Fed's job is to match the value of the economy, which people call inflation or GDP. You can use these words interchangeably, with the real world needs of the people, which you could call jobs. Yeah. These are the reason the Fed has this dual mission, the way that they're chartered, is because these are the two sides of the scale that have to be balanced. And if they're a little late to one side or the other, as long as the total fluctuation is pretty minimal, they've got it right. If you're mad because you couldn't make a lot of money faster, but you're still making money, you're mad at the wrong thing.
No, so far so good.
And go home to the Hamptons.
So far so good on this. I mean, yeah, this economy is still very strong. But I think anytime the stock market does a drop like that, it's going to raise alarms, and no one's going to see the bigger picture that this is a strong market. It's been strong.
Right. The good news is the economy is growing.
Yeah.
The good news is the economy is not growing as fast as it was.
No.
The good news is that the regulators are actually regulating the economy in a way that benefits the most people.
Oil's gonna flatten out over the next few months.
Employment is up.
Yeah.
Wages are outpacing inflation. The total cost of living is decreasing. This is the sign of a strong economy. And
housing rate just dropped. Yep. I got a message today about that.
And new housing starts include to increase. So, and we're the envy of the world.
Yeah.
Yeah. Call up somebody in another country and tease them. Like, hey, man, yeah, we're paying $3.20 a gallon.
Tokyo rising their rates also plays into that as well. That's
for the first time in,
exactly.
25 years?
There's going to be some type of shock. That's a shock.
Negative for 25 years.
Yeah, it's a shock no matter what.
Ask the average person yelling about the economy what the interest rate in Tokyo is.
No one cares.
What do you mean Tokyo?
What does that have to do with anything?
Wait, what does that have to do with anything, they'll say?
Goddamn globalists.
There's a Nikkei. What's a Nikkei?
Nike?
It's Nike, yeah. Speaking of Nike, this story is called, oh, man, the alt-right is going to hate this. So, there's a guy, Michael Bloomberg.
Yeah.
He's a billionaire.
President, yeah.
Super billionaire. Yeah, former presidential candidate. Yeah. Mayor of New York for a while. Pretty good. He's been on both the Democrat and Republican parties. He's, an independent for a little while.
This one rich man does. One wealthy man does.
Yeah, he just sort of moves around. He's a total of 5'3" on a good day.
Yeah.
Rides the subway every day to work still, as one does in New York. Where else are you going to park? Guy's loaded. Well, decided needed to divest a little bit, spread the wealth around. Bloomberg Philanthropies announced a $600 million gift to just 4 HBCUs. Of course, the most important one being Howard.
Of course.
I'm sure there are others, but they're not in D.C., so we don't. No, I'm kidding. It's not that we don't care. It's been distributed across several places. So it's $175 million to Howard University College of Medicine, Meharry Medical College, and Morehouse School of Medicine. Charles R. Drew University of Medicine and Science will get $75 million. So a lot of money.
A lot of money.
And altogether, the generous giving to some of these HBCUs, it's going to Spelman, it's going to Morehouse, it's going to a bunch of places. It's coming from these wealthy billionaires. Reed Hastings of Netflix. You've seen the Bezos fortune, which is mostly not Scott Bezos. It's
Mackenzie.
Mackenzie, who is out here trying to give the money. And there's a twofold reason for this. One, it's about rebalancing the scales.
Yeah.
Okay? These folks made a lot of money mostly by going to exclusively white institutions that help them, make a lot of money, and it feels like it ought to be rebalanced. But also, there's a lot of talent and capability for the overall economy and for the country.
It's better for the economy. That's
in many places. And it seems ridiculous to concentrate your resources in so few of them when you have an opportunity everywhere around. I want to tell you a story. Where I work, we have a mailroom, which is, where everybody likes to say that they started.
Yeah.
One of the people, we have an open position in the mailroom, and one of the people who's applied for this open position in the mailroom is an immigrant to this country and has been here for a while. He's currently working as a cleaner, but we got a hold of his resume to take a look at. Turns out he went to law school back in his previous, in his homeland.
As many immigrants have.
As many people have,
yeah.
Right? And so, 6 years of college, and he's here pushing a broom. Now, I'm no Bloomberg, although I do share a lot with him. But I'm certainly not as smart as he is, and I don't have all of his fancy degrees and everything like that. But I'm smart enough to know that if you've got a lawyer, you don't waste his talent cleaning the floor. And you certainly don't waste him in the mailroom, but maybe you start it if that's the only thing you can do. This is a smart person. You should use these resources and get it. And because we live in a society that's so lopsided and has intentionally overlooked so much talent for so long.
Yeah.
Of course, the billionaire class that has made a lot of money by finding smart ideas and investing has figured, hey, here's a smart idea. Why don't we invest in smart people? And a lot of those smart people are at Howard. They're at Spelman. They're at Morehouse. They're at Bowie State. They're at Virginia State. They're at all of these places.
Eastern Shore University.
Yeah, I mean, we're just picking the locals.
Right.
But, we could go on for days. Invest in talent. Whether it's in minor league baseball or HBCUs, invest in talent.
I think that eventually, and maybe a lot of these things, if we think through climate change, or we think through a lot of these diversity initiatives, or being the just
DEI hire,
or being more specific, giving just due to the black people of this country that make this economy, and that
they built the capital. They got to eat better than the rest of the slaves. They were fine. Bill O'Reilly told me it was great.
Right. If we eventually look at this as a monetary thing, and we're like, oh, we can gain money from this, all of this changes. And as people see this, they will be like, oh, I can make money from climate change. Let's do it. Oh, I can make more money by investing in
resiliency. I can make money by investing in people. Yeah,
sadly,
it's cynical that we have to fall back to that there's a path to fortune through investing in people. But hey, idiots, invest in people. I mean, you're crazy not to. You got all this talent sitting on the bench. You're not using it. What are you doing? Don't let J.D. Vance anywhere near a bench, by the way.
Oh, God.
It's a little too close to a couch.
The bench with the little holes?
Ooh, those metal ones. I don't know about that.
Yeah.
Well, he is from Ohio, so probably fits. Just to be clear, Coach Walz would not have cut J.D. Vance just because he runs a 15-minute 40. But he wouldn't let him ride the bench either because it's a little too close. And with that, we've come to the end of the show.
We're early today.
Oh, wait a minute. No, we haven't. Brian, your cousin
yes,
is winning medals.
And caught COVID.
Yeah, yes. That did happen.
Okay, but do you have any thoughts on
I saw the
cousin
cousin Noah.
Noah?
I was happy for the fact of the 100-meter. That was very intense.
Won by a nose.
Yeah, literally by a nose. Even it was kind of odd.
A forehead, maybe.
Yeah, it was kind of odd how it started because everybody was ready to go, and for some odd reason, the organizers or the setup crew wasn't. So, but once they got going,
did you see him jumping when he was getting ready? Did you see that freeze frame of how high he got up in the air?
Yeah,
he's like 10 feet up in the air.
So he was amped. I give him that, and he wanted to prove something, and he did. Unfortunately, after his 200-meter bronze medal win, I don't know why third place is a win.
It is a win. It's a medal.
Yeah, he wins a medal. But
It's a medal.
Yeah, so finding out that
It's a whole age.
I know.
Bronze age.
Yeah.
All right? It was
Nobody
an
makes
age of
swords
bronze.
out of gold or silver. That shit would break.
Yes.
Yeah.
But afterwards,
Crazy.
after the race, seeing him collapsed and finding
His
out.
lungs were full of COVID.
Yeah,
Ugh.
so he getting COVID. And
You imagine how fast you are
Ugh,
that
that's
you win a
insane.
bronze medal
Yeah.
in the 200 with
Insane.
COVID.
yeah. So that means, mind you, I think his training helped him with that.
Oh,
I
sure.
Get that. But the question, which will be asked on the upcoming episode of No Filter Sports.
Hey.
Featuring Chip.
Yes, I highly question
College
about this
football
year's
season.
Olympics itself and what their practices are about monitoring certain things like this, because pretty much they've been sliding in a lot of things.
Like
this
the
year.
rest of the
Tokyo,
world.
They're like, oh yeah, COVID's
Yeah.
over and everybody can just
Yeah.
hang out in the village
Well,
and stuff.
well, again,
one outbreak and this whole thing
There's
is
E.
over.
coli in the river. Come
Right.
on, man.
Yeah, come on.
The hell we
I
care
mean,
about?
Tokyo is different. I mean, they're highly strict when it comes to things like that.
Well, they
So-
were because it was still the pandemic. But
right.
Yeah.
They saw the pandemic, but
That's what I'm saying. They sort of let all the rules go now.
yeah. Well, this is the IOC. The IOC is fucked up. Anyway,
What? Next thing you're going to tell me FIFA's corrupt. Get out of town, Brian.
Upstanding.
Get out of town.
So-
I will have no such slander of the upstanding organization known as FIFA. If you come for Condom Bowl, I'm coming after you.
Okay.
You'll be
Anyway,
all right.
on that note, let's play our private theme song.
Speaking of which, also, fuck you, NCAA. Harbaugh is in San Diego, idiots. Can't punish him for a thing that he's not doing.
Like,
That's offline. You can
And I
find
hear
out
he's
about
still
it later.
pulling linemen constantly.
Whatever. He's going to be great. All right, we've come to the end of the show. Shout out to the DC kids who are doing great things in the Olympics. Flag bearer for the closing ceremonies, Katie Ledecky, also a DC kid.
Yes.
Love to see that. Tori Husk doing great. Katie, hopefully going to bring us a gold in the basketball. Doing good on the track. Doing good everywhere. It just feels good. You know, I know America's doing great, and I feel better even that it's our folks. That's really good. Thanks to our radio partners, Howard, Spellman, Morehouse, and anybody else who recently got a huge donation and needs a communication professor like Des to spend it on.
hey. Oh, my.
Yeah, hey,
Hey, look.
you're qualified. You do communication once a week.
That is true.
Thanks to NOTN for keeping
Sometimes poor.
us on for another week, maybe. Don't know. Shout out to our favorite New Orleans friend, Kiwi in Baltimore. He's got new music coming out. Go check it out. Stay tuned for more expansion news to more networks. I can't divulge anything just yet,
Oh,
but
wow.
there is something
That's a
in the
tease.
works. Yeah, it's a tease. Thanks to our regular radio partners, Google, Apple, Spotify, all those guys.
The antitrust group.
Yep. Well, just Google so far.
Oh.
Check us out on the Podcast People's Choice Awards.
Hey.
We made the slate. I don't know what that means exactly. When we figure out how you can vote, we will let you
We'll
know.
obviously tell you.
There is no question that we will flog that constantly. Thanks to our home on the interwebs, coplaymedia.com. And thanks, as always, to our family here at Beltway Radio for making us sound as smooth as the Venezuelan election. All right. Where can everybody get you on the socials?
You can find me on Instagram at KetchumCordy. You can find me on Twitter at DC Cortez, which I haven't been on there lately, spewing national takes, which, the ups and downs of this
There's
weird
reasons.
team. It's a very weird team, but I'm still happy. I'm still proud. And you can find me, as always, being a flaming liberal on Blue Sky at DC Cortez.
All right, you can find me and the show on Twitter at ChipChatRR. You can find us on Facebook or Instagram at RipChipChat. And you can, of course, find us every Thursday night except last Thursday night at 9:30 here on Beltway Radio and Beyond. I'm Chip. That says that's Brian. You've been listening to Chip Chat on Beltway Radio and Beyond.
Street balls.
Say, we're trying out this new ain't, I call it the new method. Step Red and Woo would probably call this track tepid. We don't care that the robot is rapping, as long as it gets the place toe tap. Our man Bird did the digital like a Bobby. The software did the beat like it's a new hobby. Musicians make music with what they have available. The robot can make nearly anything sellable. If this new song becomes a big hit, early bird my mouth. This is Chips Robot, and his voice is kinda whack.